Hi everyone. I wish I could have been a mentor, but I was in Korea, as Daniel mentioned. So it's a pity that I couldn't meet you as a mentor-mentee, but let's start. So welcome to React Nights Week 8. It's the last week, and this is the last lecture. So congrats on everyone who made it till here. Kudos to everyone who's here for like 8 weeks and 16 lectures. Today we're gonna talk about deployment, but sorry, where are my manners? I forgot to introduce myself. My name is Jay Huang. I'm a front-end developer here at STRV. So today we're gonna talk about deployment. Let's start with a definition of deployment on Wikipedia as usual. So software deployment is all of the activities that make a software system. In our case, it will be a web application available for use. One quick question: who of you have done a deployment of any kind? Can you show a raise of hands? Wow, that's a lot. Okay. But I see some that didn't raise their hand. But I'm 100% sure that you have done a deployment of some sort. That is because what you do, run npm run start or yarn start, is a kind of deployment. What it means is that when you run the script, you have your code that is available as usage. So yarn start is a kind of deployment. Let's look into what happens when you run the script. So all web applications are based on a client-server model. What it means is that there's a client who's trying to access your server, and the server will respond you with the available app. So what happens when you run the script is that a development server will be running. It will be building your JavaScript, HTML, CSS, all that stuff. And then from your client browser, you're going to access it through, in Create React App case, is localhost 3000 port, which the server will return you back with the web app assets that is required to actually run on the client browser. What happens here is that everything is on your local machine, but you have successfully deployed it on your local machine. So you can see it on your browser, what you have built with your code so far. Well, that's all good, but I made an awesome app. I want to share it with the world, or at least my friends, but it's not connected to the internet. So what I can do is bring my laptop and then show them, here it is, how awesome this is. But I would like to share it on the internet. So how do I do that? What I can do is that there's a tool called ngrok, which will proxy a request to a specific URL to your computer's server with a specific port. So let's try to do that. It's simple enough. So what you've done so far to develop, by the way, this lecture or the repository is based on Create React App. It's not the Next.js app. I'm assuming that you have done for your homework, like you changed all to Next.js. But I want to clarify that this will all be based on Create React App. So yarn start, it's showing you that on your local you can go here, and then you can see whatever you've built so far. That's all good, but I wanted to share it on the internet. So to do that, okay, not good at this. Sorry. To do that, you have to install ngrok on your global machine, and then you just run a simple script or command ngrok http 3000. So let's try to do that. Here, I'll do it. ngrok http. I have it installed, so you can install it when you want. So what it does is it's giving me a URL. Is it small? Is it good enough? So it's giving me a URL where it will route to forward it to, you can't see it here, but let me just close this. it will forward it to localhost 3000. What it means is that whatever I have running on my localhost 3000 will be available to this URL, which I will share it on week 8 if anyone's interested, because I will be doing some code changes. So let me get there myself. My Chrome is gone. Okay, so here. I got here, I see the same thing that I see on my local host. It's the same URL. So let's do some changes and verify that it's on the internet. I'm just gonna use I'm guessing this is small too, so I'm just gonna use the layout component because it's the easiest way to show you hello world. So if I save it, if anyone has linked to the link that I shared, it's going to be here, it's going to be here. So what I'm developing on my local machine will be exposed to the internet URL, and anyone who's linked to this URL from ngrok will be seeing what I have on my computer. So yeah, so the HTTP 3000 is there. But I see some issues with this kind of deployment. And I see like 2 critical issues. Can anyone like to guess?
If you turn off your computer.
Very good, very good. Yes, exactly. If I don't even have to turn off my computer, I just have to stop my script and no one can access whatever I've deployed so far. That's one. Second one? Sharing my code? I mean, the code is always there.
Are you able to remove it?
Me remove it?
Yeah, from that ngrok or whatever.
I don't understand the question actually.
If you stop the ngrok script, it will stop being shared.
Okay.
Yeah, yeah.
Sorry,
Okay. One hint will be it's a related topic what Lou presented before, like just before this talk. Yes. Yes, very good. Okay, great. So the first issue I see is that yarn start, the script itself, deploys a development build of the app. Like React development script is there, which means that there will be some warnings from React if you're not using it right. Like you can't set state to an unmounted object or all kinds of stuff. And the bundle size itself is also big. So poor performance, JavaScript is big, that's one issue. Second issue, stopping the local server will make the app unavailable, which means that if I do this, then even if you connect here, you're gonna find nothing there, like 502. Right? There's nothing there, my server is just dead. So that's the second problem that I see. So the way to resolve this issue, I would say the first one, is a development build. So I think we can do better by making the web app, so building it ready for production before deploying. The second one is kind of easy, I would say. Just deploy on a server that's available 24/7. Usually the solution we will go to is a cloud-based one. S3, Heroku, now Netlify, there are so many of them, so you can choose whatever you like. So let's try to actually solve the problem here. Solution 1 was to build the web app before deploying. And the easiest way you can do the build is by running a script that is provided by Create React App itself. It's called yarn build. And there's a great documentation on the web about it, so you can go read it. What it says is essentially that it builds the app for production into a build folder. And then blah, 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 optimizes, and then your app is ready to be deployed. So let's try to run it. Yarn build. It's going to run some build steps, optimizing. and it's gonna give me a build folder with all the build assets in it. Plus, it's giving me some nice like script to run, so you may serve it with a static server by calling it serve. They know what they're saying, so let's try to follow what they try to do here. So if I run the script that they mentioned, this part of the CLI looks extremely similar to what you see at yarn start. It's because under the hood, they are actually using ngrok for yarn start. So what it's doing is that it has deployed my static build production file to localhost 5000 this time, which means that if I go to 5000, I'll see this, the new one, and then the ngrok is the same thing. So before I exposed my 3000 to a URL, but now I'm serving at 5000, so I'll just change it to 5000. I'm gonna get a new address, and this application that I've served will be a production build. It will be much slower, it will be much performant than the one that I have deployed on my local before. So that was number one. So number one, build it. Second one, deploy it on a cloud-based solution. So there are many cloud services like AWS, as I mentioned before, AWS, Heroku, Netlify, blah, blah, blah. But for today's purposes, I will be using Netlify. I think Netlify is a very well-made service and it's also free. So if you're interested in serving any kind of static assets, then you could just sign up and try it. So let's see what it does, what it means to deploy it on Netlify, Heroku, S3, whatever. But what you do is I will build my made app, web app, into HTML, JavaScript, CSS, and other assets. Then there's the internet with the server cloud service of your choose, which will be connected to a certain URL. What I do for deployment will be just uploading what I have built so far into the cloud service. That's it. That's easy enough. So let's see how I can do that. I'm gonna wait. I think I need 2 tabs for this. So Netlify, you can find it on Google. You can easily sign up with your GitHub account. So I have my account ready, so I'll just log in and show you how easy it is. So we are at React Native 2019, and this is the currently built assets that every asset that is required. So what I can do is that just to upload it to, I can't drag it, upload it to Netlify, and it's deployed. Let me just change some settings so that, sorry, I think I can change the name, right? So let's say React Nights 2019. Just so if you want to check it out, you can check it out right now. It's live, it's production ready. So everything you've built is on the internet. It's available 24/7 unless Netlify goes out of order, like out of business, and they shut down. So it's gonna be available. That was the easiest way how you can deploy a Create React app that you have made and built to upload it to Netlify. Drag and drop. So, yep. So that was the deployment part. All right. So let's recap what we did for the manual deployment steps. The first thing that I did is I made some changes to the code, which was putting a hello world, easy enough. And then I tested that it works on my local device. I just checked it on my browser. Okay, so there's the hello world. I build it so that it's performant for my other users. And then I deployed it through Netlify. I just drag and drop whatever was built from Create React App. Very easy deployment, but there's a warning behind this. So let's say you're working on one code repository with just one of your friends. So you two are working together, and I'm doing feature A. My friend is doing feature B. The first warning would be always pull the latest code and resolve some conflicts on the repository if there is one, and ensure that the works from your colleagues are actually on my computer before I build it and deploy it. What it means is that maybe my friend B has made feature B and put it on the repository, but I finished feature A on my machine. I just finish it. Okay, it's cool. I build it, deploy it, and feature B is nowhere to be seen. So that is one warning that you have to be sure about before manual deployment. Second one is don't forget to commit and push your latest build. What it means is that I finished A, I built it, deployed it, didn't push it, and my friend B will never know that feature A was finished or implemented in any kind of way. So there are a lot of manual works, a lot of warning, human errors that could happen on manual deployments. So far, any questions? Okay, good. So that is why it brings us to CI and CD. So it's an abbreviation of continuous integration, continuous deployment, or delivery, correct, sorry. So let's just see the definition of it. Continuous deployment is a software engineering approach in which software functionalities are delivered frequently through automated deployment. So everything is crap, but the automated deployment is the important one because, you know, we developers, we're lazy, or at least I'm lazy. I don't want to do all this manual stuff and like have a checkbox like every time I deploy, it's like, did I pull, did I push? Don't want to do that. So why do we need it? The first thing I think of is it's very important for a single source of truth. So whatever your application is, whichever version is deployed, it will always be synced with the repository. What I mean is that you will have to pull and push, as the warning sign said, if you do it manually. But if you have CI, then everything will always be built from the repository at the latest version. So that is a good point for CI/CD. Second is confidence that the code will always be tested by some automated test. So before deploying, usually, if I were to do manual deployments, I would have to run yarn tests to see the test passes, but you know, I'm lazy, so I don't do it. I miss a test, and then there's like 3 bugs there. It crashes the server. So, but with CI/CD, before deploying, it will run the test and make sure that you're not breaking like some very critical features like login or sign up. It's also less manual work. Once you have it set up, then you don't have, basically you don't have to do anything but to implement your feature and push it to Git repository. And less human error, like forgetting to push the latest code changes in your computer. You think that it might not happen, it does happen. It happened to me too. So yeah, before CI/CD, yes. So let's see like how this actually works and how the infrastructure is based on the CI/CD. First, as a developer, you'll change the code, you'll commit it, you'll push it to the GitHub or GitLab or whichever services that you're using, Git repository. You push it, then the Git service that you're using usually has a way to notify a CI/CD server. So they notify that to the CI/CD server that this code has been changed in the repository. Then the CI/CD will start pulling the latest code and then test it. It will be defined on the script, like which steps to run when the codes are changed. Test it, build it, deploy it. So all the steps that the CI/CD server does had to be done by myself if I were to do it manually, but I'm just deferring all my jobs to automated server, which is the coolest part, I guess. And then it will upload it to the cloud server of whatever my choice was. There are many services for CI/CD, as always, Travis, Circle, Netlify. I wouldn't say it's a CI, but I mean, they have something. So GitLab, they have their own CI, and you can also have like a manual CI/CD server set up with Jenkins, and many more. So let's try to do it on the Netlify URL that I've created just now. Okay. So it was this project. I'm gonna go to site settings. Let me show you an easier way. You can make a new site from Git, and from here you can choose whichever repository you want, but let me just reuse the URL right here. So at site settings, there's build and deploy. I can link my site to a Git. It's the same UI. It's very easy. It's like 3 clicks away or something. React Nights 2019. So the branch to deploy, I will be deploying my master branch for production. What it will do is whenever the code changes, it will pull everything, yarn build the stuff, and then it will publish the build directory. So 3 clicks away. So now it is linked to my GitHub repository, and it's gonna start building the stuff and putting it into production. Now, how do I know that it's linked up and it's working? Let's just change some simple file. Hello world from CI/CD, which I will just push it to my master. Add header. Add hello world. So what I had to do is, write my code, push it on GitHub, and then what happens is that I'm not sure if you see this right. So on my production deploys, Netlify already knows that I have committed a commit or pushed a commit called add hello world, which contains my change called hello world from CI/CD. It will now build it after finishing this. It's cute. But it will build it and deploy it to React Nights right here. I don't think it's here yet. Well, right, this one's another problem, but we'll get to that. No, it's not ready yet. It's still in progress. Still building. So while it's still building, I would like to continue on and show it to you later. So yeah, that was Netlify CI/CD. It's very easy. It's like 3 clicks away from deploying your Create React app. So if you're trying to build a Create React app, then I would recommend using Netlify. It's easier to use than Heroku is easy enough, but like if you're trying to use AWS S3, it's much more work to do. Like you have to set CloudFront and all this kind of stuff. So it's a good service that you could take leverage, I think. Right, let me just check if it's up and running before. Let me just take this out. Still building. Okay. All right, now so that we have CI and CD up and running, It's easy for us now. We just do some code and then we just commit and push. Everything will be in production, it will be built. Now that we have all the environments set, I want to talk a little bit about the environment variables. I don't remember which lecture it was, but I'm pretty sure there was a lecture for setting up the project to have a config file. And
First one, I
yeah,
did it.
first one. So we made a config file here, right here. And we had client ID, secret, scope, API URL. Right now, it's a good way of encapsulation so that every config lives in one file, but it doesn't serve a purpose to, use different client IDs or secrets or API URLs. Because in real development world, I would say, you will have different API URLs to call for development server or production server. I think which is on my next slide. So when we're developing as developers, like real world development, we will usually have the infrastructure of at least 2 separate servers. I hope so. If you don't, then you're into like many troubles. So we'll have one development server, which will have a different URL than the production one. It's meant for testing, like QA designers, your clients, whoever wants to go see like what feature A looks like before going to production, they will go here and check it out. And we will have a production server with a different URL, which is facing like the real users that use your application. So what we want to do is set up a CI/CD server, like before, like Netlify, what I did with Netlify. So that whenever there are some changes in the development branch, the CI/CD will understand that, oh, this change came from a development branch. So I'll build it on development and then deploy it onto the development server. And if the changes come from the master branch, then I would want it to make a production build with the correct URLs, like API URLs and keys and stuff, and send it to the production server. This, I would say, like from a project point of view, this will always come before anything starts. Because before having this, you will be just working on your local machine. So we will usually try to have this infrastructure set up so that the clients can check like the development server and the actual production server. Oh, it's working. Like even if it's just like a bare bone from create React app, we want to have this set up and running so that we can, make some changes to the code, implement features, and you don't have to worry about it for the rest of your project. That's why I think Danny started with the config files and the project structure. So actually before that, we would like to have this infrastructure. And I would like to use Netlify also for this environment development. So let's see how we can do that. Netlify actually has like many features and they have many nice things that you can leverage. One of them is, another one is deployment, where here the deploy context is that we're seeing that the production branch is master. So whatever changed in master will be deployed to the production URL. But then I can actually add some individual branches. For example, I'll just add a dev branch. I don't have it yet on the repository, but I'll just add it here. So branch deploys, you can like deploy all branches, but I don't know, like if you want it, you could, but I don't usually go for it. So I'll set up additional branch for dev, and then whatever I push to a dev branch will also be built, and then it will be deployed to a separate URL, which is the thing that you see on this image, where the master branch will go to a separate URL and the dev branch will go to a separate URL. Let's verify that. So, ooh, wait, I'm lost, right? So dev branch, I should probably create a development branch. Yeah, nights to but 9. So I switched to a dev branch and I'll try to change something here. From here, hello world from CI/CD and development branch. Let's first see our master branch, if our master branch was up and running. Okay, so this was the master branch that was linked to CI/CD, and we have it on CI/CD. Oh, right. And we have a dev branch, and I'm gonna push it right now, which will wait. Oh, right. Add develop branch. So whatever commit is on this development branch, the master will not know about it until it's merged. And if I push it, then it will be in my GitHub repository, which will also trigger, where am I? Right. Here at deploy, see, like, it understands that a development branch was pushed, and it's going to build from the development branch, and it's going to deploy at a different URL rather than React Nights 2019. It's going to have like a kind of prefix. I think I'll get that after the build is done. So yeah, the first part was done. I have the 2 separate URLs for development branch and production branch. Now, I'm going to use the config file itself. So before I use this, I would like to show you how easy it is to actually use some environment variables, assuming that you're using create React app. So I make a file called env, which will contain React app. This prefix is mandatory for create React app to actually understand it. Test env testing. So if I have a .env file at the root of my project, what I can do is from here, I can use it as process.env with the key that I have mentioned here. So I'm not going to deploy this yet. I'm just going to try it out on my local machine, which will be run by yarn start. I'm going to turn this off. So if everything goes as expected, I will be seeing testing, right? Testing on the header. Here we go. So whatever is in my env file, I can use it, which means that I can change my config file to have all this hard-coded strings to be in the env file. So let's change to use that. And let's try to use this and move this and so at the env file, I'll be having a client ID, client secret, and API URL. But as I said before, I have to have React app prefix. So I'll have that. And right, I have to change this to equals. I'll remove spaces. I'll change this to right. So I have my env file with all the hard-coded stuff in the config. So what I can do is use those env files from process env. So I have these keys. So I'm going to use this as client ID, client secret, scope, and API URL, which means I don't need this. So from process env, I'm extracting these keys to be set as the same key that we have exposed before. It's just moving like a string to another file for now, but it becomes very powerful if you're trying to change the API URL depending on your branches or your servers or whatever is required for you to change. So let's verify that it just works just by using the layout component. Config. Let's see the API URL. I'm not sure if it's running yet. Right, so I have successfully read from the env file and put it into the config object so that whenever I change the env file, the build will be always dependent on the env file itself. And just to go back a bit, I think the deployment was successful for the development branch. There's a preview deploy. It will give me another URL. I'm guessing this is a hash of my commit. So this commit will have a separate URL instead of the actual production URL. So whenever I deploy, whenever I push to a dev branch, it will be shown here, and the actual production server or production app will not be changed. You can see that these two are different right now. Even if I refresh, it's the same. So okay, right, we were at config file. So I've changed this, but then now I want to change like the API URL for my development build and production build. So how do I do this? To do this, the CI/CD server has to understand which branch is coming from. And most of the CI/CD services, they have a way to understand that what's happening, and they're going to give you a way to actually read which one it is in the process env usually, like the environment variables. So because we're running out of time, and I know you guys want beer, so I'll try to keep it short. I'm just going to tell you that there is a way to read it from the environment variables depending on the services. So what I would usually do is for netlify, it's called branch. They will expose it on the environment variables. So what I would do is make a env.branch whatever branch that is, and copy it into the env file, which will overwrite what the env file is currently at to build it. So what I would do is here .env.branch .development branch, right? Here I will try to change my dev.foo.bar. I'll change this. Let's drink some beer, right? I'll add this here. Push it. The commits and push are taking quite some time. I'm probably, it's because of the hooks, the Git hooks, like you tested or linted, or they're all good, but sometimes like it just bothers me that it's taking too long, because if you have a CI/CD server set up, and if it does check your linting and testing, then it might be an overkill of resources. I linted on mine. The same code is going to be linted on CI/CD, so what's the point, right? Maybe I do some crazy stuff, and then the CI/CD notifies me, my manager mouths at me, stuff happen. But at least the server will catch it. So right, I changed the deployment settings. I'm pretty sure it's gonna run the let's drink some beer. And after this is run, I am very sure that the URL will be, wait, what? Oh, the URL didn't show up yet. The URL will be, what was it? You're right, dev.foo.bar. I'm pretty sure it's gonna happen, but we'll just wait for the build to run, and it's fast. Okay. Right. So we can set different variables depending on the branch and make using of the CI/CD's capability of telling us which branch it is. But if you have like multiple branches, for example, dev1, I don't know, you get the gist, right? So if I have this to master, I could use this to be API, this API dot something. What I would normally do is the env files here, it will always, yes, always point to a development server. It's because I want my master branch to be very, very explicit. Like the only way that my built web app will be pointing to a production server will be by pointing at this file, env.branch.master explicitly. Unless that like you're running on your local or like some other CI or whatever, which is not set up properly, it's not gonna go into like the production server. So that is how you can leverage config env files and build it based on different branches. So, right. Okay, that was some live demo. I think. Right, so last homework. Deploy whatever you built, awesome app, to a service of your choice. There are many. I've listed some of them. Extra point for setting up CI/CD. Circle CI is also good. Travis, if you're using a public repository, also free. Share your deploy URL with your mentors, friends. Link URL to resume. Put it on your resume so that you can show what you've actually made through the 8 weeks. So that's it. Any questions? Okay, apparently not. Apparently it was very good, huh? Oh, one question.
What about committing these embargoes to GitHub, like having sensitive information?
It really depends. For example, if it's a public repository, I would not recommend putting it into into the repository itself. There's for CI/CD services, they also will have a way to put secret environments, or actually just put it in the environment here itself, where only the maintainers or like the owners can access it. So I would put like super secret here, and then use it on the build step. And the env file will not contain this super secret stuff. Or if it's private and it has to be shared, I mean, I guess you could, but normally sensitive information is better left inside the machine that is going to build it, which is usually what the CI/CD services provide you with environment variables. And some of them are even more sophisticated. They will give you a key to decrypt an encrypted key, but I think it was Circle CI that has it, yeah, or App Center. They have a way to do that. Any more questions? Nope. Okay, then let's go drink some beer.